I don't know where it is. What should be here somewhere? Yeah, here. So let's go presentation. Okay. Can you see?
Yes. Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Akshay, part of Team Hawk, and today we will be presenting whatever we achieved in the last 5 days. So the agenda for our presentation is, first we will introduce our team and we will describe a bit how we distributed our tasks. We will then break up the presentation into 4 demos where we will talk about the procedures that we followed and the issues that we faced. And then we will provide a conclusion. Moving on, our team was comprised of 6 very active and collaborative members. We distributed the tasks in the following ways, but I would like to note here that even though this was a broad distribution of the tasks, everyone was involved in each and every task because we were helping each other out in any of the issues that we were facing, or if we had to deploy, redeploy, or things, we were all involved in each of these tasks. So in a way, everyone worked equally. So take to task 1, I will ask to Ashif to please turn on his mic and then describe these next few slides.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the task 1 basically was deployment of core network elements in the using the OAI 5G core. And we were able to successfully deploy the core network elements. And as you can see from the deployed pods, they are working, and we have been able to deploy, redeploy them multiple times without any issue, except there were some issues which I will describe later on. And yeah, so we followed the tutorial provided by Sagar, and it was quite helpful, but we had to adjust certain parameters, especially related to the static IPs, in order to make things work, and for us to find out which IPs or maybe subnets to use for those static IP configurations. Can you move to next slide? With respect to the verification, we tested the verification checks provided in the tutorial, and here, as you can see, with respect to the 5G core network element connectivity, we were able to associate configure the after configuration. We were able to test the association of UPF with the SMF, and also the SPGW node with the UE, and also the eventually the connectivity of G node B with the AMF by performing these tests as provided by the tutorial. And the other thing you can notice is the UE connectivity. We were able to, after correct static IP configuration on the G node B and UE, we were able to connect them with the core network elements and between themselves. And as you can see, the UE1 tunnel interface is up from our deployment. And we were also able to ping through the OAI infrastructure, as well as through the other interface on the UE. And these are also depicted by the snapshot on the right. Moreover, we were in the next slide, Akshay, can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So with regards to the issue for the task 1, it was mainly due to this static IP configuration. And firstly, we were not sure which IP subnet to use, but then as we were using the Calico IPs as provided as shown in the tutorial, so we were able to figure out where that VXLAN is and how the subnet is allocated over there. And then we had to make some changes in the values and deployment YAML files. And yeah, so that was one of the main issue, and Sagar and many others tried to help us, and eventually we resolved this issue with respect to the static IP configuration. And then there was an issue with the end-to-end connectivity, but it's also related to the IPs because we were not getting the tunnel interface for the UE to go up. So after the IPs were configured correctly for the G node B for the UE, we were able to make that work as well. So yeah, so that was the overall summary of what we did in task 1. And yeah, thanks again to the mentor for their help in troubleshooting and resolving the issues.
Thanks, Sagar. So just to wrap this task 1 up, I will just share my terminal. I cannot see terminal here. No. Okay, I think I closed out my terminal somehow. So I will try to bring that up later on, and then we will share that. So I'll just continue with the presentation. So next up, we did task 2. In task 2, we used Juju Charms to deploy the OAI 5GC, and I will ask Andres to please present this part, and let me know when you have to change slides. Andres, are you there? Andres? I think Andres is not there. Andres, if you are not... Yeah.
I can see Andres.
Sorry?
I think he might be looking for the unmute button, or maybe he's speaking mute.
Okay, Andres, if you can unmute yourself, else I will go ahead in a bit. Okay, whenever you can unmute yourself, Andres, just jump in. So we went ahead with the installation of Juju, as has been described here. This was basically the basic steps that were already described in one of the tutorials that we found online. And yeah, go on, Andres.
Okay, sorry, I was muted and I was not able to activate.
Can you please start from here, from this slide? Yeah.
Sure. Well, at these steps, we tried to clone the Git repository of the OAI bundle, and using a tag for the using Juju add model and building, we were able to deploy the bundle using the code in YAML. Once this was built, well, we were able to take a look at the different folders, well, yeah, there were several folders, but at the first point, first versions had no new radio user equipment or G-Node B, but in later versions of the Git that David supported, we were able to build it with all the directories. So next slide. Okay, once it was deployed, we were able to take a look on the status of the network functions, and although it lasts a bit, it spends a few time to set that in active mode. At last, we can see this status that is active in all the network functions. Okay.
Yep. Next one.
Yeah. And well, we had some issues. For example, as I have said, there were no charms for G-Node B and New Radio, but David was able to help all the teams with this. And having a telco with David to check the status of this task, we reported some issues about the user equipment and detected a bug related to an IP. So we helped in this task too. Well, I think that's all from myself for this task.
Okay.
If you want to add something, Shay?
So basically, we reported, like what Team Eagle reported earlier, like we were seeing this issue with the IP address, and we are still witnessing that sometimes we don't get the IP address on this tunnel interface, which is not up, and these kind of things. So I think we already reported that to David, and David was able to talk us about these things. We discussed about the issue of RBAC, which is one of the things that we have to fix to get the Helm charts to work. So basically, with David, we were able to go through a bit of some of the ideas, some of the things that could potentially help solve. I mean, maybe just to point out some things, he knows more than us. So yeah, just we reported some things, and David then, he was very, very supportive, and he said he will, as he already said, he's working on that. So yeah, that's all from this task. Then we move on to task 3. And we did some manual scaling and deploying OAI 5GC through OSM. And I'll ask Alex or Eri or both of them to describe this task.
Yeah. Okay. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in order to do this task, we first have to make the descriptor, both for the network and for the network service and the VNF. Then on your left, you can see the network service descriptor. Aquí, basically, we have reference to the VNF that we will be using. In this case, it's just one, because since we are using Yo-Yo bundles, then Yo-Yo bundles is in charge of deploying the rest of the pods that later we'll be seeing the Kubernetes framework. On your right, here we show the virtual network function descriptor. We omit the scaling aspect because we're talking about in the next slides. Here, the main point is that we define the KDU, and then we name the UU bundle, simple as naming the name file, because we onboard the VNS package with the UU bundles inside. So if you want to move on to the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, here we show that once we instantiate the network service, we execute OSM network service list, and we see that it will be deployed without any problem. And then when we list all the pods that were deployed, we can see that all of them are running and all of the containers are deployed. Next.
Okay, next one.
Yeah. Okay, here we see the scaling aspect that we don't mention before. And well, here we define the scaling aspect. We define the minimum number and maximum number of instances we can scale. In this case, we define that we want to scale the GNOB, as we can see here in the resource name. And then in the screenshots, we can see that we have deployed 2G GNOB after executing the command that we are showing you here. And then when we execute an scaling operation, we can see that how the GNOB that we added was removed. So if you want
Next
to,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we present, well, the issues we were facing while doing this task. First, we get this error that basically what means, well, what we think that it means, that error is OSM was unable to find the UU bundles that we were defining in the VN's descriptor. Why? Because we were trying to use a Kubernetes repo from OSM, as we show in this picture, that this repo we named it as OAI bundle, and then we were making reference to this repo in the UU bundle field. But then after talking with the mentor through the channels, well, we see that we should include the UU bundles inside the VN's package, and then we could launch the instance without problem. although we still have some doubts here because we don't completely understand what's the purpose of this OSM repository, because we can add both Juju bundle and Helm chart. So I think that's all what I have to say. I don't want you actually want to add something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it all here. I mean, the Kubernetes repo is something that we are still a bit in the dark. Like, what is the purpose of using the K8s repo if it's not there? And I think some of the responses we got were that there is nothing like K8s repo or something like that. So it was a bit strange for us. So in any case, I mean, I think we lack a bit of understanding here, and we would like to have more clarity on, like, how to use this K8s repo. That's about it. So then we move on to task 4.5, automatic parameter change and scaling. I'll be talking about this part. So basically, we explored several options to perform the automatic scaling and parameter changes. One of the aspects that we explored some of the tutorials was the scaling policy part in VNFD, which is similar to videos. But once we explored it, we realized that in the model, the YAML model, the Yang model, sorry, there isn't any avenue to do these similar properties for the KDUs, as far as I could understand. So I don't know. We don't know if there is something similar that will come in any future release. So that's one of the questions to all the guys who are there, all the mentors, etc., and people who have been working with this for a while. Also, then the another aspect we were looking at was the charms.py and create new actions in the actions.yaml file, but the relationship was not clear to us into how putting certain actions would lead to auto scaling or parameter change. So this was pretty confusing in principle, and honestly, from a person who is probably using OSM for the second or third time, it's quite challenging. So it was a bit difficult to just understand the relationship. But anyways, thanks to David, he provided a repo which we could check out, and we could do the GNB scaling. So here you can see that once we did the procedures, which is like we checked out the repository, we built the charms again, and then we created the VNFT and the NST with the procedures that we already described for the previous tasks. We could basically scale it to 2 GNBs. Now, the thing is that the scaling here, although we use the same descriptor that we used before, the limit of the scaling is governed by the bundle.yaml file, where you define one parameter, which is scale, and here it was 2. So, so we need to take care of this parameter in bundle.yaml, as well as in the VNFD descriptor, we need to take care about the maximum number of instances. And then here in the image below, you can see this is the AMF log, and you can see there are 2 GNBs which are now connected. And then we also took a snapshot of the OSM of the operational dashboard of the network service, and you can see that we have 2 instances of GNB running, and you can see GNB0 and GNB1 are over here. So just to conclude, we achieved tasks. So the achievements were we finished tasks 1, 2, 3, and 5. We learned quite a bit collectively about how to deploy 5GC and test it using Kubernetes, Juju Charms, and OSM. We also learned to identify issues and solve them collectively. And we would like to mention here Sagar, Mashish, David Garcia, Andika, and Sylvia. Sorry, Sylvia, I missed out your name here. Especially for helping us throughout this process. And then we identified certain issues, and we have certain suggestions as well. After our final discussion, we came to a conclusion that as a team that probably an initial survey on the level of the participants would help in better planning for the resources that could be made available for the Hackfest. Because, I mean, a lot of the teams, I mean, at least we can talk about us, our team, we were facing some challenges into understanding how the automation could be done, or, about certain things that we were using Juju Charms and we were not aware of like, how to add the Juju bundle. We were trying to use Kubernetes repo, etc. So maybe this, if there was an initial survey of some sort where, people could vote into their level, like, their experience working with certain technologies, it might help you to like provide resources in a much more, comprehensive manner just from the beginning, and reducing the clutter that we faced during the whole Hackfest. The other thing is that we face some connectivity issues when we use Juju Charms and OSM, and we already raised this with David, and to David and all the OSM team, if we could be of any help in any way, we would love to get involved. Also, we believe that the KDU scaling at present is a bit cumbersome. We might be wrong. Again, as we mentioned, like some of us have less experience, some of us have a bit more, but we were not able to collectively come to a point where we could say that let's scale the KDUs in this way. And maybe this scaling policy that we have for the VDUs could be extended to the KDUs as well. Maybe it is already in the roadmap and we don't know about it. But the most amazing part that as a team, as individuals, we noticed was that we collaborated and learned how to function as a team in such a short space of time, and that for us was the most amazing part. And of course, we learned a lot as well. I mean, into like how to use these technologies. So yeah, thank you from Team Hawk. And if you have any questions, please let us know. If you have like 2-3 minutes, could you just let me like find the our machine, and then I could also show you the demos, if that's okay, Sylvia.
Yes, we have up to 10 minutes, so take your time, and we'll be able to edit it afterwards if needed.
Okay, I'll just stop the screen share for a moment so that I can find the right window to share, and then I will just share back. Okay, in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, so.
I have a question. This is Gerardo. Did you find, what kind of difficulties did you find to, I mean, you were mentioning about the case repo.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what you mean by case repo, either a Helm chart repo or a Juju bundle repo, or
So
I don't know exactly what you were meaning, and the issues that you might find. I pointed out some links to documentation related to creation of OSM repos. Could you please elaborate?
So basically, on I'll just sign in. I'll just give me a moment, and I'll actually show you what we were talking about. Yeah, continue. Let's go. UI. Yes. UI. There we go. Admin. Okay. Let me just share my screen with you. Share screen. Share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you go here to the Kates part, you can see here the Kates repo. And basically, when you do add Kates repository, you can add in your name, you can add in the type, it can either be Helm chart or Juju bundle, and then you can actually put in the URL from where you want to have this repository. So we were putting in the URL of the GitHub repo over here, and then the description. And this is how we basically created this OAI bundle repository. And basically, I mean, we were not able to use this in our VNF descriptor here because here, when we go to edit, when we go here, we are, I mean, right now it's bundle.yaml, but we were just typing OAI-bundle, and our expectation was that that OSM will find the Kates repository and it will directly use it here when it noticed the Juju bundle name as OAI bundle, but that wasn't working. So yeah, I mean, this is something that we noticed that we were not able to use this aspect of OSM.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say that I think you just found another bug, because that feature is intended for adding Helm repos, if I'm not wrong. and there's no such equivalent thing in the for charms. So you can deploy them either locally or from the charm store, but there is no, or currently there's no way of having your separate or internal charm store that you could add it there as a repo. So if you could find a bug regarding that, would be great.
Okay, but so by finding the bug, you mean like, what isn't working for us over here when we add this OAI bundle? Is that what you're saying, David?
Yes. So as far as I understand, when adding a cage repo, you should only see one option, that is Helm chart, because for you bundle it doesn't make sense, at least right now.
Yeah, we get Juju bundle and help chart as two options here. So we just chose Juju bundle here. So, okay, we will report.
If you could find a bug regarding that, it would be awesome.
Will do. Okay, so let me just SSH into our, and as I see we have 10 minutes, so we can do kubectl name spaces, and so we do cube ctl get pods -n OAI. So you can see all the pods are running here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into one of these pods, which has a very cumbersome name. So we do paste -c UE, I think, bash and k and -n OAI. Okay, so I'm inside the UE. I did an IPA. I did the IPA, and so this is for demo 1. Okay, so for task 1. So I did the IPA, and then I will do the root -n to just check. So you can see there is an IP address on the OAI tunnel, and so you can see that when I do root -n, we see the root as well. And I'm just going to do a ping -c google.com. Oh, I forgot to insert the number of packets that it wants. So you can see this is from the normal interface. So the interface that is there on the pod, but then not the tunnel interface, but then I do OAI turn, so UE1 and -c. And you can see that we can ping using the tunnel interface as well. Now, just to get name spaces, and then we do kubectl. So now for task 2, we will go to a different namespace, which is OAI final day.
Sorry,
Okay.
can I ask one favor? And that is, could you change the transparency of the terminal? It's a bit difficult to see. Sorry, thank you very much.
No worries. Sorry, it's just sometimes I use this preference. So.
Oh no, absolutely. For normal work, it's I do that as well. It's just the sort of dithering that comes through once it's a remote presentation.
Is this better?
Yes, thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
No worries. Sorry about that. Okay. So then we do kubectl exec -it and our UE0 -c. Oh, that's an O. 0 -c and our UE and bash and -n OAI finally. So again, what you will notice here is that, so this is using task. So in task 2, we use the Juju charms. You can see all the pods are deployed. But then when we did it the first time, or sometime like yesterday, it was working. But right now, if I do an IPR, we don't have the route basically over here. And so when we try to ping, normally it works, which is like google.com, it will work. But then again, we don't have this interface basically. So that's something that we need to look at. And we are not sure why this has happened, but we have already reported it to David. He already said it's a race condition. So I think we know why this is happening, and that's that. And then the next one is we did the, I'm just going to go straight to the last scaling one because it's based on the task 3. So task 4, 5 will cover that. So I'm just going to show you the pods, and so that we save a bit of time here. And so we do get pods -n. And so you can see that we have Gnode V0 and Gnode V1 already running here. We have NRUE 0, and again, we are facing similar issues here. I already checked this, as I showed before, when we are deploying using Juju charms, that we don't have the OAI tunnel interface, which is up. So we are currently facing those issues, but we were able to deploy all the pods. We were able to get the GNB connected, as we already showed. We can also look at the logs, but it's going to be a mess. I think logs. EMF 0 -n. And you can specify EMF. Let's see. Oh. Yeah. So you have GNB RF sim GNB1, and then there is GNB0, which I can't see here, but yeah. So anyways, that's that from our side. If you have any further questions, please. Oops.
Okay, thanks a lot. So we're back into schedule. Next in line is Team Lion. Are you ready?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Can I share my screen?
Should you, Rami, share the slides?
Yes, I will share them.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll give the screen to Rami, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, let me find you. Up. There you go. Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Just 1 second, it needs permission.